Hello, internet world. It's your bearded brothers, and we are back again with yet another sports podcast. I'm your bearded brother, Matt.
I'm Chris, and that's a Loki.
There's our mascot, Loki. Not entirely sure what that says about us, but there you go. So
I'm wearing green, and he's green, so you know.
there you go. But it's not St. Patrick's Day; it's Christmas, or getting close to.
Well, green is a color of Christmas.
That you're not wrong. You are not wrong. I am okay with that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Where to start? That I think is the question of the day. I'm gonna go ahead and say, let's start and talk, because there was some injuries I think that need to be updated.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. First couple are season ending. Sadly for the people involved. One happened last night. Did you watch last night's game, Chris?
I only watched some of it. I didn't watch a lot of it.
All right. Sometime, I think it was in the third quarter, DeMarvion Overshone, linebacker. He missed, by the way, the entire rookie year that he would have had with a left ACL tear.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he tore his right one yesterday. It does sound like he's going on the IR. In the third period, he got his leg trapped under him. Pretty bad. There's also some idea there may be some more structural damage than the ACL. He may have tore more than that and may have a meniscus problem and a few other things. It does not look good. There is currently no timetable for his return, and he was having a pretty damn good season. So he was the Cowboys' second leading tackler. I hope and pray that I get nothing but love and send that guy, some love from everybody. Even if you're not a Cowboys fan, should never wish for players to get hurt. Speaking of players that are hurt and probably likely out for the season, Derek Carr. It is confirmed Derek Carr broke his hand.
Significant fracture in his hand, actually. That's what they said.
Yes. He broke his hand significantly. Pretty bad fracture. May need surgery.
Oh, he's also in concussion protocol.
And he's in concussion protocol, all because in a meaningless game, he decided to run and dive like a dumbass.
Dude, he died. He tried basically hurdling over two tall standing players to try to get a first down, which, by the way, didn't get. And ended up concussing himself and breaking his hand.
What are you doing, Derek?
Derek, I know you are a very competitive individual, but maybe there are times you need to realize when to kind of hold it back.
Maybe just a smidge, maybe. Let me see here. Other people. Let me see here. Cooper Beebe is currently in concussion protocol. Pickens is hurt somehow. We're not quite sure entirely what his injury is, and they haven't been entirely forthcoming with it. Who else went out? Oh, Aiden O'Connell is... They're going... It sounds like he wants to try to play this upcoming week, but he has a bone bruise on his knee, which, that's not good. It sounds like he would like to make the attempt to go. Whether or not he can go is... Well, that's going to be the question, isn't it? That's going to be the question. Those are the big injuries that I can think of. Can you think of anything I missed?
I'm trying to think if there was another one that I remember or not. Hold on, let me check the injury list, because I thought there was one more that we're missing. But I can't remember if that was something else or not.
Okay. Please, do check the injury list, see if we missed one.
Oh, you talked about Jonathan Brooks already?
Oh, I miss Jonathan Brooks, who,
That's the one. Yep.
yep. He did he tear it? Was it in the opposite knee again, or
It was in the same one.
same knee? Yep, tore
He
the
tore the
ACL,
same.
same
Yep.
ACL. God, I hope that's not his career.
He's been placed on injured reserve for now, so we'll see.
Yeah,
But
but I mean, it's the same
a double
ACL.
tear, man. Oh man. Yeah, they might honestly. Doctors could tell him like, listen, you've already ripped it twice now. Like that's obviously a weakness in that particular ligament.
Yep. There's
I
no
mean, the only
real
other thing they could do is maybe like one of those experimental surgeries that they have where they replace it with something else.
that
But there's no
maybe,
guarantee
but
that'll work.
yeah. So
Let me see if there's any others. Cornerback Greg Newsom II has a hamstring injury. Got placed on
mm-hmm.
injured reserve. You talked about Overshone already.
I already talked about Overshone.
Um, let's see here. We talked about Derek Carr already.
Yep. Those are the big ones I can think of.
Zamir White was placed on injured reserve
Well, that would
from the
explain why he
Raiders.
hasn't been starting for the
For the Raiders,
for
yeah.
the Raiders. And honestly, I think Sincere McCormick is doing a better job,
I also do too.
which is kind of sad.
It is. Let's see here. Oh, that's funny. But KJ Osborne just got waived by the Patriots. Thanks, Patriots.
We could always take him back.
I was gonna say. Let's see if there's anybody else.
I mean, he
here.
was pretty good with us.
For the Giants, cornerback Trey Hawkins III was placed on injured reserve.
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, George Pickens, hamstring injury, considered doubtful.
I already talked about Pickens. I said that
Oh,
they
did you
hadn't
talk
been
about Pickens?
super
I apologize. I
forthcoming.
must have missed that.
You missed it. Don't worry about it. But it's a hamstring? Okay.
It's a hamstring is what they're saying. Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense as to why he's doubtful, and
Yep.
we're not entirely
Otherwise,
sure.
we got everything else then.
Alrighty. So yeah, the injury demon has been hard at work, claiming people for his injury area in hell. All right. Small hockey trade that I find funny. There was a trade involving, and let me pull up the actual details so that I get it right. Here we go. All right. So, the Colorado Avalanche have made a trade. They have traded goaltender Alexander Georgiev and forward Nikolai Kovalenko and a 2025 fifth and a 2026 second to the Sharks for goaltender Mackenzie Blackwood, forward Giovanni Smith, and a fifth round pick in 2027. Blackwood has actually been having a pretty good year this year, so this definitively does help Colorado, who's been having issues in the net. I do find it funny because Colorado is now trying to start a forest because they've got Mackenzie Blackwood, Scott Wedgwood, and a guy named Miles Woods. They just have all the wood, man.
Wood.
They're starting a forest. They're planting a forest over in Colorado right now. I did want to bring that up. I thought that trade deserved just a little note from us. It's one of the only other trades that's been, around. I do have to wonder, though, there are a certain set of teams. I believe most of them are in either the Pacific or the Atlantic, over in the East. That just, they always say that they're done rebuilding and that they should be taking steps forward. And none of them ever seem to move forward. Ottawa, Columbus, Montreal. There's some teams over there that just I do not understand why they can't get better. Um, doesn't make any sense to me. And it's not that they've, like, if you look at the teams, especially like Ottawa's got on paper what should be a fantastic team. They've got all the talent in the world. They've got guys they can put the puck in the net, and they've even got a goalie now. They can't win. And I don't know why. What's the hang up? What is the curse?
Who knows?
Yep. Other news, back to football for a minute. The Jets and Giants are on par to have their collective worst season at the same time since 1960. It's been that long since both these teams were this bad together collectively. Which is saying something. I don't know what it's saying, but it's saying something.
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you either. All right. Well, enough about that. I don't have anything else major. Do you want to... Let's do a... You know what? F it. Let's do a Hoffer Hog. You ready?
Not good. Yes, I am now.
Okay.
I was just finishing my top 10. Apologies.
It's okay. I totally had to do that earlier today, too.
Yeah, I was on my last couple, and so I just had to figure out what order I wanted to put them in.
There you go. All right. Hoff or Hog? For those of you that don't remember, or this is your first time watching, this is Hall of Fame or Hall of Good/Great, where I take, without telling him who the players are, I will give him a position. And I will tell him, I will give him a Hall of Famer, a recent Hall of Famer from that position, and then we will compare other people from that position to this position, and we will discover if they belong in the Hall of Fame or if they are only in the Hall of Good/Great. Now, these are generally not active players, although sometimes they are. They're generally older players that I believe would be winding down their careers soon. So, with all that in mind, today we're doing defensive backs. And the site I'm pulling from does not differentiate between safety and corner, so this will be a mishmash of those.
Okay.
Here is your Hall of Famer. He played 11 years. In those 11 years, he was in 145 games. He had 29 interceptions, 3 interception touchdowns, 139 passes defended, 4 forced fumbles, 12 fumble recoveries, did not return one of those for a touchdown, 496 tackles, 2 sacks, and no safeties. He was a 7-time Pro Bowler, a 4-time All-Pro, and a 1-time Super Bowl champion. And that's your Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Your first player, I'll do 1 and 2. Okay? Played 13 years. Had 201 games in that time. Had 36 interceptions. 2 interception touchdowns, 122 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, 12 fumble recoveries, no fumble recovery touchdowns, 652 tackles, 4 sacks, no safeties, 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro. All right. Your next one played 11 years, got in 144 games, had 37 interceptions, 3 interception touchdowns, 116 passes defended, 5 forced fumbles, 7 fumble recoveries, none for touchdowns, 496 tackles, 2 sacks, no safeties, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champion.
All right, those numbers just glazed together in my mind.
Do you need me to repeat any of them?
They were way no, they're just the numbers are just so fucking close to each other that it's hard to differentiate them. I mean, they seemed very similar players, to be honest with you. At least just based off of the numbers. There are obviously some differences, but like, the second one you read off to me sounds like a Hall of Famer. Can you repeat the stats for the first one?
13 seasons, 201 games, 36 interceptions, 2 interception touchdowns, 122 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, 12 fumble recoveries, did not return a fumble for a touchdown, 652 tackles, 4 sacks, no safeties, 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All Pro.
That one's a little more on the edge, but they're still pretty good numbers. So I think both of them sound like potential Hall of Famers.
All right.
The second one sounds more like a first ballot than the first one does, but I think both of them would likely make it in.
Alrighty. Your next person played for a total of 10 seasons. In that time, he got into 140 games. He had 30 interceptions. He had 2 interception returns for touchdowns. He defended 71 passes. He had 12 forced fumbles, 6 fumble recoveries, 1 fumble recovery for a touchdown, 713 tackles, 2 sacks, no safeties. He was a 7-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time All Pro, and a 1-time Super Bowl champion.
The big number that stands out for me on that one in comparison to the rest is the amount of passes blocked. That is a significant less, and that makes me worry that he was giving up maybe too many passes, and while he was good at intercepting, so he was basically a ball hawk. Either he was trying to intercept it, or they would get it.
Double what anybody else has, almost. Not double, but he's also got a significant amount more of tackles.
Yes. But that also is indicative of possibly giving up a play and then tackling the guy right away, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean a good thing either. It depends on what that, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Depends on how you read that stat, right? I'm actually going to argue that he doesn't deserve Hall of Fame based on that, because that tells me that he gave up too many times. And while he was ball hawking it, trying to get interceptions, he was maybe giving up too many plays.
Okay. Fair enough.
I could be wrong, but that's just the way the stats read.
Gotcha. All right, your next one played 14 years, got into 201 games, 29 interceptions, 4 interception returns for touchdowns, 98 passes defended, 8 forced fumbles, 7 fumble recoveries, 1 fumble recovery for a touchdown, 1,179 tackles, 9.5 sacks, no safeties, a 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champion.
I'm going to say he does make it in, but not as high. Like, he probably won't be a first ballot. And he does have, again, my big concern is that he does have not as many passes blocked as I would like, but the amount of tackles and sacks, I think, kind of help make up a little bit of that ground in comparison to the last one. So this one feels like kind of this, I'm not going to say the same guy, but they feel like a similar type of player, but this one feels like he was just better.
Gotcha. Your next one played 14 seasons, got into 205 games, 63 interceptions, 11 of them for touchdowns, 123 passes defended, 8 forced fumbles, 8 fumble recoveries, 2 fumble recoveries for a touchdown, 949 tackles, 7.5 sacks, no safeties, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, that's a first ballot if I ever seen one.
Well, yeah, should have been.
Should have been.
I think he's already been nominated and hasn't gotten in yet.
Should have.
When you find out who it is, you're going to shit yourself.
Oh, probably.
And your last one has played 12 seasons, got into 173 games. He has 36 interceptions, 4 of them for touchdowns, 99 passes defended, 6 forced fumbles, 8 fumble recoveries, none for touchdowns, 814 tackles, 11 sacks, no safeties. He is a 3-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time All-Pro, and a 1-time Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, so that one's right at my cutoff, right? Like, he's like right on the edge. I'll give him a probable Hall of Fame, but I could kind of understand if he doesn't get it, to be honest.
All right.
He's like right on my edge personally.
So, your Hall of Famer, he's very famous for having an entire island named after him. Darrell Revis. Revis Island.
Oh, okay.
Your first one that you said yes, but probably not first ballot, Patrick Peterson.
Okay. I can see it. It's pretty
good. The second one that you said absolutely first ballot, Richard Sherman.
Not shocked.
The one you said no, probably not going to make it, Earl Thomas.
I still stand by it.
The one you said sounds like Thomas but better, Eric Weddle.
Still stand by it.
The other one that you said absolutely that's a first ballot, I don't know, blah blah blah, Darren Sharper.
Oh, is he seriously not in yet? What the fuck?
He is not in yet.
What the shit?
How is he not in with 63 interceptions from a safety
That's
position?
ridiculous.
That's fucking dumb. And the last one you said I'm probably going to give it to him, that's the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu.
The Honey Badger, yeah.
He'll probably make it.
Yeah, if he continues playing the way he has, he'll probably make it.
Yeah. He's still got another year or two left in him, and he'll probably make it.
Yeah.
I figured that would be fun, because I looked at that one, because I was like, how is Darren Sharper not in? And then I had double-checked the number of interceptions, because I was like, I've got to be misreading that. There's no way it's 60.
That's crazy.
63. Yeah. Okay, how the fuck is he not in yet?
Should be a first ballot based on those numbers, but
based on those numbers, he should be in, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's not in. So if anybody disagrees with us, go ahead and let us know. I doubt you would disagree with most of that. Earl Thomas would probably get in on name value, but if you look at the pure stats, I just don't think it was good enough.
Yeah. He was quite good, just not Hall of Fame good, if that makes sense.
He goes into the Hall of Good/Great, because he was quite great. He just wasn't fame-worthy.
Yeah.
All right. Ready to talk about Week 14?
If we gotta.
I mean, we can.
Yeah.
Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
I'll leave that up to you. I have no hard feelings one way or the other on these.
I'll go ahead and start because I always like talking about the Packers getting beat. So we'll talk about the Packers getting beat. It always makes me smile. Especially because... Okay, so before I even get into it, we're going to say we both picked the Lions. The final score, Lions 34, Packers 31. There were a lot of salty Packer fans.
A lot. I remember sending you the text that night where I sent you, like, this was a pretty good Thursday night game. It didn't seem like the refs were that bad. Like, they had some moments here and there, but it was mostly really good. Apparently, we're fucking wrong, according to Packers fans. Jesus
apparently. Well, they called that touchdown back for a pick, but then the Lions did that same pick earlier in the game. No, the Lions did do a pick, but it was a lot more believable that it wasn't a pick. They at least tried to disguise it.
On top of that, like, people are mad about that PI call that happened on who was it? Was it it was offensive pass interference, remember? It was on what was his name? Was it on Reed? Was it on Reed? It might have been on Reed. But they were running that play where, basically more or less doing what you do in basketball, right? Where
that's what I was talking about, the pick play.
Yeah.
They were mad because the Lions had done a similar play earlier in the game, and it didn't get called. And that's why I said, The Lions tried to disguise it and did a really good job of making it look like that's not what they were doing.
Well, on top of that, the big thing is, and like everyone pointed out, like even it wasn't the exact same just based on the fact that the lion fell down. Like if you hit them hard enough where they end up actually on the ground, I'm sorry, you're gonna get called for it.
Yeah.
If he hadn't fallen over, he probably wouldn't have gotten the call. But because he fell,
then they were big mad. They were big mad because Jared Goff's knee touched the ground on the 4th down play, and my response is read the fucking rule book, because he wasn't giving himself up.
No.
2,
he's clearly
there
trying to
was
hand off the ball.
Nobody anywhere near him to touch him.
Exactly. No.
Yeah, no. He could have gotten up and continued that play and then thrown the football if he'd wanted to. Y'all are big mad because you feel like you got screwed, but you know what?
The refs did fine. Like, I'll admit, there was that one interaction with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I forget which other corner it was, where he took off his helmet. Yeah, that should have gotten called.
Should have gotten called, yes.
I'm not disagreeing with that. But a lot of the other shit you guys are pointing out, like, is just ticky-tacky bullshit. Like,
I will also say, before we get into all the stats on this, Campbell was gonna kick it.
Oh, yeah.
On that 4th and 1 at the end of the game. And Goff looked at him and said, man, I really want to go for that. I really want to get that. And Campbell goes, you want to get it? Fuck it. Let's go get it. Everybody, we're going for it.
I will say, most of the time, the decision making is correct. But I will say that 4th down when they were on their 30-yard line was fucking stupid.
I am going to defend that.
I don't think you should.
I'm going to. Here's why.
You shouldn't, because the score was actually too close at that point for that.
Here's why. Hear me out. Hear me out. It's dumb, but I'm going to devil's advocate it because I got to thinking about it for a minute. You go
I
for
thought
it.
About it for a while.
All right, you punt it. They can maybe bleed the clock and still score. Your defense has been maybe a little bit sus this game. You're hurt. You're banged up. It's really hard, so they bleed a lot more clock. You go for it, you get it. Yeah, you continue your drive. You go for it, you don't get it. They probably score a lot quicker and a lot easier and take way less clock to do it. Gives you more time to make another comeback down the field. Because your offense has been doing pretty
happened,
good.
Right?
I believe it was in the 3rd period.
No, it was in the 2nd.
I thought it was the 3rd.
It was in the first half.
I thought it was the 2nd half.
I'm 90% positive it was in the first half. And that's what I'm saying, is there was no need at that point to think about clock management whatsoever. I'm pretty sure it was actually towards the end of the second half. So if you're going to make the argument that they wanted to score again before second half...
No, it was in the second half. Definitively was in the second half. Because they ended that...
then okay, fine. It was towards the beginning of the second half then. It doesn't matter. The clock does not matter at that point. The clock was not that big of a defensive period, especially if you have a whole fucking 4th quarter. I still don't remember that happening in the second half, but if it did, it would have been towards the beginning of the second half.
The reason why I know it was is because they were up by 3 at that point, and they were never only up by 3. Well, they were in the second quarter.
They were.
But
yeah, they were.
They were, but that was with 5:35 to go, and with 11 seconds left, they went up by 10. So that wouldn't have mattered.
That's what I'm saying. It didn't matter at the time when they did it. It didn't matter. The clock didn't matter. None of that stuff mattered.
I was going to say I think it was in the 3rd quarter, and I do think that it resulted in the Josh Jacobs run with like 11-15 because they scored with 13-15 and then 11-15. I think that's when they had gone for it. But they still won. That's the point.
No, I know, but I'm saying that the clock management at that point truly didn't matter, and on top of that, if you punted away with how good your punter is, you might keep them from scoring altogether. Like, it just wasn't necessary. It really wasn't.
Here it was. No, it was in... Found it. Yeah, it was near the end of the 3rd period.
Yeah, it didn't matter at that time. Like it truly, especially at that point, like now because you're going towards the fourth quarter, are you really just going to give them points? Like again, it doesn't actually make sense at that point to do it that way.
Um, yeah, they scored with 14. The thing is, that gave them, they scored with, rather than it being like 7 minutes left in the game or 8 minutes left, they still had 14:20 left in the game to go try and get it. It was the very
If you think
end.
the Packers would have bled off almost half a quarter, I'm telling you, you're wrong. The Packers would never have been able to bleed off half a quarter.
Okay,
It was not
so
going to
rather
happen.
than it being 11 minutes left to play in the
Just saying.
fourth, because
Yeah,
they punted it and the Packers got it, and then they're able to do some runs and probably go down the
maybe.
field.
No, again, now you're making a large assumption,
Yes,
assuming that the Packers
but that's
absolutely would
also,
have scored, and I'm telling you that that's
I
at
think
that
that's
point.
also what Dan Campbell is thinking at that point as well.
But you also have to think about the fact that your defense had actually stopped them a couple of times previous to this at the start of the second half. Your defense was playing better. It again, there's no guarantees, obviously, but at the same time, like worrying about the clock at that point, I'll put it this way: almost everyone disagrees with you on this.
I know.
You look
That's why I wanted to
like
give. That's why I wanted to give the devil's advocate of it. Of give
there's
them like,
very
to me, your best time to punt is between the 40 and the 50-yard line. Um,
nowadays that's not necessarily true because a punt we've seen punters be able to punt 60, 70 yards down the field.
yeah, and if I could guarantee that he's going to be able to coffin corner them from the 30-yard line where they were, I would totally have punted it. But
And their punter has been. Jake Moody's been amazing.
still, point being, I get what
they have
he's
probably
doing.
the best punter in the game right now.
I get what he's doing.
I can understand why you might think that that's a possibility, or you might argue against afford it. And I think the biggest argument for why he did it was not simply for what you're saying. I think it's because he looked at all the other times they got it on fourth down and went, well, shit, we've gotten it all the other times. We have a high percentage on it. Might as well give it another try.
I'm not going to say that that might not have been a thing, but
Yeah, exactly. The minute I saw that, I'm like,
I
he's
do
getting too
think
full
I
of
do
himself
think
now.
Rich called the right thing, though. I think that there needs to be somebody to go, Dan, calm down.
Maybe this isn't the right time.
Maybe this isn't the
Yeah.
time. We need to punt it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wanted to make the argument that I can
Yeah,
see
like,
I can see
there's
the
a-
logic in letting them score faster so you can get back to offense, which has been better than your defense.
There are some logic there. I know what you're saying, but like if you have to kind of bend backwards to understand the play, then maybe the play wasn't good.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Okay.
All right. Finally getting into the stats. We'll start with Green Bay. Jordan Love, 12 of 20, 206 yards, a touchdown, only sacked once. Josh Jacobs carries 18 times for 66 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was virtually their entire offense in the red zone. Love did run 4 times for 23 yards. Emmanuel Wilson, 1 for 7. Brooks, 1 for 3. Christian Watson caught 4 passes for 114 yards. Dontavian Wicks, 4 for 49. Tucker Kraft, 3 for 41 and a touchdown. Decided he was going to, after talking big, he was going to try to have a big. Ben Sims, 1 for 2, and Jaden Reed did not haul in his only target. Christian Watson also fumbled the ball and lost it. Defensively, Isaiah McDuffie leading the way for 15 total tackles, 4 of them solo. Rashawn Gary gets a sack, and it's their only one. Their interception comes off Keyshawn Nixon. Did not have any kick or punt returns. Brandon McManus did kick a field goal from 32 yards out and was 4 of 4 on his extra points. Now for the Lions. Jared Goff, 32 of 41 for 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, sacked once for 3 yards. Montgomery goes 14 of 51 and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs goes 15 for 43. Amon-Ra St. Brown goes 1 for 10 And Goff goes 4 for 7. Receiving, Jamison Williams, 5 receptions, 80 yards. Sam Laporta, 5 receptions, 54 yards. Tim motherfucking Patrick, 6 catches, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. How do you let Tim Patrick be open twice in your end zone? What are you doing? That's why you deserve to lose, Green Bay. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 5 for 43. David Montgomery, 5 for 33. Jahmyr Gibbs, 6 for 30 and a touchdown. Brock Wright did not haul in his only look. David Long Jr. was the guy that recovered the Christian Watson fumble. Jack Campbell leading the way on defense with 8 total tackles. 3 of them were solo. Zadarius Smith does pick up the sack. They did not have any interceptions. No kick returns, no punt returns. Jake the Brickman Bates hit both his field goals with a long of 43 yards, won the game. That wasn't a 43-yarder. That was like a 20-yarder or something. It was really, really short. Because on that 4th and 1, they wound up getting like 15 yards. And then
but his knee was down.
4 of 4 on extra points. Detroit wins 34-31. I'm very happy with that. Screw Green Bay. I will admit that I texted you. I said, there's a very small part of me that wants Green Bay to win so they can have 2 losses and be like 11-2, and then when we beat Atlanta, we can be 11-2 and be tied with them for the head of the lead in the North. But mostly, most of me just wants Green Bay to get beat because fuck Green Bay.
That's fair.
Your turn. I assume you're going to take the Vikings game.
I can do that.
I mean,
bird.
He's like, no, I want to cuddle.
That's exactly what that is. All right. Well, Falcons at Minnesota. Minnesota wins 42-21.
We both picked Minnesota. Surprise.
Surprise. Let's talk about the Falcons first, because why not?
Why not?
Kirk Cousins, 23 of 37, 344 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. And I think I read somewhere, and I could be wrong, the last 4 games the Falcons have played, he has 0 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
Yes, 100%.
That's not good.
And you're paying him $100 million a year.
$100, yeah. Rushing, Bijan Robinson, 22 attempts for 92 yards and a touchdown. Not bad. Tyler Algiers, 9 attempts for 63 yards and a touchdown. Also not bad. Receiving, Darnell Mooney, 6 receptions for 142 yards. Drake London, 5 for 70. And Ray McLeod, 8 for 98. Ray McLeod also fumbled and lost the ball. No interceptions. Arnold Ebikate? Arnold Abicate? I'm going to assume that's close. 1 sack. Eddie Goldman, 1 sack. Caden Ellis, 1 sack. Matthew Judon, 1 sack for a total of 4 sacks on the night. Young Wei Koo, 2 for 2 for field goals for a long of 29 and 1 for 1 on extra points. Ray McLeod returned 1 kickoff return for 31 yards. And Avery Williams returned 1 punt for 11 yards. Let's go ahead and look at the Vikings stats. Vikings, we have Sam Darnold, 22 of 28, 347 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. We're not done yet. Aaron Jones, 13 rushing attempts for 73 yards and a touchdown. Cam Akers also had 5 touches for 37 yards. Receiving, we have Jordan Addison, 8 receptions, 133 yards, 3 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, 7 receptions for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. They were literally separated by 1 touchdown and 1 yard. Otherwise, they had the same stat line. T.J. Hawkinson, 4 receptions for 45 yards. Brian Asamoah was the one that forced the fumble. Byron Murphy had 1 interception, and Josh Metellus had 1 interception. Jamin Davis. Is his really name Jamin? Is that how you say his name?
If so, that's a fantastic name.
Yeah, if it is pronounced Jamin, that's amazing. Jamin Davis, 1 sack. And the only sack on the night, actually. Surprisingly, we didn't get to him very often. That's a little shocking for our defense. Do. Will Reichard, 0 for 1 on field goals. Oof. But 6 for 6 on extra points. And no punt returns, but we had a couple kickoff returns. Cam Akers returned 1 for 24 yards. Ty Chandler returned 1 for 22 yards. Yeah, it's one of those things that's funny about this game is pretty much exactly what happened. I was talking to the family as we were watching, and I went, great. We're going to have a shit first half by the way we're playing. That just means we're going to do everything in the second half. And that's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
We had a shit first half. Even the third quarter was only kind of okay. Most of our points came in the fourth quarter again. It's like we decided, all right, we're woken up now, guys. Let's play football.
Let's play football.
And
then
after
we went
that,
off.
it just kind of, I was going to say after that, we just kind of ran away. The game stayed close, and then we finally went, fourth quarter, I guess we can play football now.
We're trying to give you time here, Kirk.
Kirk, we were really nice to you. Look how much time we gave you.
Guess we were right to get rid of you. All right.
So pretty much.
I think I'm going to talk about... I want to get it out of the way, so I'm going to talk about the worst game of the week.
I mean, there's... Hold on. There's 2 contentions, but there's one that I think you're picking.
I'm going to talk about Jacksonville at Tennessee.
Yep. There was one other that was pretty boring on here, too. So.
I believe that would be... Let me guess. Bears at Niners? Or Niners at Bears?
That one was pretty boring, but that was not the one I was referring to.
Yeah, this one, Jacksonville at Tennessee. We knew that this game going in was going to be straight up boring. We knew it was going to be bad, and it was.
It was.
I picked Jacksonville. You picked Tennessee. I win as Jacksonville wins 10-6.
Not gonna lie, for a while there, I was not convinced Jacksonville was gonna win that game either.
I was totally with you. They were down like 6 points, 6-0 for most of the game, and then in the fourth quarter, field goal, touchdown. What?
Yep, pretty much.
Mac Jones, 23 of 31, 220 yards, 2 picks, no touchdowns, sacked once. Wow. Tank Bigsby, 18 carries, 55 yards, 1 touchdown. The only touchdown scored in the entire frickin' game. Travis Etienne, 4 carries, 20 yards. Mac Jones, 3 for 3. Devin Duvernay, 1 for -7. Brian Thomas Jr., who has clearly become the receiver in Jacksonville, 8 catches, 86 yards. Travis Etienne Jr., 4 for 50. Evan Ingram, 4 for 33. Brenton Strange, 1 for 21. Parker Washington, 2 for 15. Devin Duvernay, 3 for 8. Bigsby, 1 for 7. There were no fumbles. Let me see here. Defensively, Foyesade Olakun, 11 total tackles, 6 of them solo. Jerrion Jones gets a sack. Josh Hines Allen gets a sack. They did not have any interceptions. Keelan Robinson had 2 kick returns for a total of 34 yards with a long of 20. Duvernay had 2 punt returns for a total of 8 yards with a long of 8. Cam Little was good on a field goal from 23 and good on his extra point. Tennessee. Will Levis, 19 of 32, 168 yards, sacked twice for 22 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Tony Pollard carried 21 times for 102 yards, no touchdowns. Tyjae Spears carried 6 times for 21 yards. Will Levis, 1 for 3. Receiving, Calvin Ridley, 7 receptions, 59 yards. Josh Wiley, 2 for 31. Tony Pollard, 2 for 22. Nick Westbrook-Akine, 1 for 19. Bryce Oliver, 1 for 16. Chig Okonkwo, 3 for 8. Tyler Boyd, 1 for 7. Nick Vannett, 1 for 4. Tyjae Spears, 1 for 2. And David Martin Robinson failed to haul in his only target. Levis did fumble, and J.C. Latham recovered. Defensively, Luke Gifford had 12 total tackles, 9 of them were solo. Harold Landry II came up with the sack. The interceptions were Chidobe Awuzie and Otis Reese IV. Tajay Spear had 2 kick returns for a total of 58 yards with a long of 33. Mason Kinney had 1 punt return for 6 yards. Nick Folk was 2 for 2 on his field goals with a long of 46. I have nothing more to say about that game. These two teams should never play again this season. I don't know if they do. If they do, please avoid it at all costs. You might catch radiation poisoning. Your turn.
Sure. I could talk about another boring game, but I'm not going to. I'm going to talk about a very interesting game that a lot of people got very angry about that I didn't know, which is interesting. Yeah, I know. I didn't know a lot of people got angry about this game, but I'm going to inform you. We're going to talk about the Panthers at the Eagles. The Eagles won 22-16. And man, a lot of Eagles fans were fucking mad.
If I'm right, did they have the same problems Brandon Graham did when he called them out on the podcast?
From my understanding, most Eagles fans were actually just mad about this game because they didn't think it should have been this close. And I tell them, you guys haven't obviously been watching Panthers games. Because the last 3 weeks have been really good for the Panthers, and they're not the instant win that they were earlier in the season.
Yeah,
they really aren't. They're going to push you.
Yeah.
They're going to make it hard. So I think
they're not the Giants.
They're not the Giants, exactly. So Eagles fans that were mad that this game was so close because they're calling for they're like, oh, our team is shit now, and look, they could barely beat the Panthers, and blah, 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 blah. Like all that kind of crap. Classic Eagles fans. No, shut the fuck up and sit the fuck down. You're fine. The Panthers are just a good team now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you haven't come to this realization, but the Panthers are not a bad football team anymore. It sounds like somebody thankfully took his fingers out of the goddamn pie.
Probably somebody smacked him in the hand. No!
I hope it was the coach, honestly.
Me too.
Hopefully. Anyways, with that being said, let's look at stats. We'll start with Bryce Young. He wasn't perfect, but again, he's been playing better. I would like to see even more better play from him. Even more better, Jesus Christ. I'd like to see even better play from him. So we'll continue from here. So Bryce Young, 19 of 34, not great, 191 yards. You'd like to see a little bit more. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Short up the 1 pick, you'd be feeling a little bit better about that stat. Rushing, Bryce Young, 7 for 29. Chuba Hubbard, 26 for 92 and 1 touchdown. Not bad. Adam Thielen has come out to be his obvious number 1 receiver. 9 receptions for 102 yards. And then Xavier Leggett, 2 for 39. David Moore, 2 for 25, and Chuba Hubbard, 4 for 15. No fumbles, no interceptions. Ashawn Robinson had 1.5 sacks. DJ Wanham had a sack. Josie Jewell had 1.5 sacks for a total of 4 sacks. Eddie Pinheiro was 1 for 1 on field goals for a long of 38, and 1 on 2 on extra points. Devin Tompkins had 2 kickoff returns for a long of 29. Raheem Blackshear had 1 kickoff return for 26 yards. David Tompkins had 1 punt return for 15 yards, and Raheem Blackshear had 1 punt for 1 yard. So overall, not bad. You'd like to see a little bit better production out of Bryce Young, but again, he's been slowly improving. This feels like a decent gamer from him. The big thing for the Panthers is that their defense has been really, really good. They've been stepping up huge, which is good. Passing, Jalen Hurts, 14 of 21, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm not going to lie, when you compare that to Bryce Young's numbers, that looks sad outside of the 2 touchdowns. I hate to say it, but it is what it is. They did. Now, I know that this is the Eagles of now don't run passing as much as with Jalen Hurts as much as they give the ball to Saquon to win. They're a much heavier rushing team, and that'll be proven right here. Jalen Hurts, 8 rushing attempts for 59 yards and 1 touchdown. Saquon Barkley, 20 rushing attempts for 124 yards. And honestly, from me, looking at it, to me, that's an average Saquon Barkley game. Like, he didn't
Yes.
actually have a great game.
No, he didn't. They
So,
mostly kept him in check. They just kept feeding him the ball.
yeah, exactly. Um, Receiving, A.J. Brown, 4 for 43. Devontae Smith, 4 for 37 and a touchdown. Grant Calcaterra, 3 receptions for 16 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Hurts did fumble the ball but did not lose it. C.J. Gardner-Johnson came away with that 1 interception. Zach Bond had 1 sack on the night. Jake Elliott was 0 for 1 on field goals, but had 2 for 2 on extra points. Isaiah Rogers returned 1 kickoff for 27 yards, and Cooper DeJean had 1 punt return for 2 yards. This is one of those games, I'm not going to lie, Panthers had opportunities to win this game, and I think if they don't get that 1 pick, there's a chance the Panthers come away with that win, to be honest with you. Like, it's that close of a game, and it's mostly because the Panthers' defense stepped up. Not that Bryce Young played poorly, but the Panthers' defense was very good.
He definitely didn't look as good as he has the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But he didn't play super poorly. He just threw 1 errant pass that cost them the game.
Yep. And like I said, when the games are that close, right, that 1 little mistake can be the one reason you lose, and it's hard to necessarily be like, screw you, Bryce Young. It's more that, the game was kept close, and that 1 small mistake, it is what it is. It happens.
Talking about close games, are you done, by the way?
Oh yeah, that's the last thing I got on that.
Talking about close games, and talking about a small mistake killing you, and talking about the Giants, we're going to talk Saints at Giants.
That was the other game I was referring to, by the way.
Oh.
Super boring if you watched it. It was really boring.
Yeah, they had 1 score in the first. They had a field goal in the second. It was just like, I score. Now we're going to wait an entire another period before you score. Then we're going to wait an entire another period before anybody does anything. The only exciting part were the last, minute and 20 some odd seconds of that game.
Pretty much.
All right. Let's start with it, though. Oh, by the way, you picked the Saints. I picked the Giants. I do lose that one this week.
Honestly, it was closer than it should have been, though.
Honestly, I thought it was going to overtime.
Yeah, almost.
Should have gone to overtime. But like most teams, the Giants have fallen prey to the special teams blunder.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Derek Carr, before he broke his hand and left the game, was 20 of 31 for 219 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Was sacked once for 9 yards. Jake Haener, 0 of 0, sacked once for 10 yards. Rushing, Kamara, 17 of 44. Keandre Miller, 10 for 32 and a touchdown. Derek Carr, 2 for 12. Jamal Williams, 3 for 5. Jake Haener, 1 for -1. That would be the kneel down to end the game. Receiving, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS. 4 catches, 51 yards. Yikes. Juwan Johnson, 4 for 50 and a touchdown. Foster Moreau, 2 for 40. Alvin Kamara, 5 for 35. Cedric Wilson Jr., 1 for 18. Dallin Holker, 1 for 10. Jamal Williams, 2 for 10. Kevin Austin Jr., 1 for 5. Dante Pettis and Kendre Miller failed to haul in any of their targets. Derek Carr fumbled and recovered. Juwan Johnson fumbled and MVS recovered. Defensively, Ugo Amadi, 8 total tackles, 6 of them solo. Kalen Saunders with a sack. Brian Brise with a sack and a blocked kick. Demario Davis with an interception. Kendre Miller returned a kick for 31 yards. Jamal Williams returned one for 16 yards. Nobody returned any punts. Blake Grupe missed both his field goals, but was 2 of 2 on extra points. The Giants. I thought this was over in the fourth quarter when Drew Lock, 21 of 49, 227, and an interception, which happened at the end of the game in the fourth quarter as they were driving to get into field goal range. They didn't have a lot of time left. I was like, well, that's ball game. They're done. And then what happened? The Saints went 3 and out and kicked the ball back to them. The Giants then used 1 minute and 32 seconds to drive the field, set up for a field goal, and screw the pooch as they had the kick blocked. Right. Also, Drew Lock was sacked twice for 14 yards. Lock, 5 carries, 59 yards. Tyrone Tracy Jr., 16 carries, 45 yards. And a touchdown. Devin Singletary, 2 for 8. Malik Neighbors, 5 for 79 yards. Daniel Bellinger, 5 catches, 45 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson, 4 catches, 38 yards. Tyrone Tracy Jr., 5 catches, 38 yards. Darius Slayton, 5 for 27. And Jalen Hyatt did not haul in either of his targets. Defensively, Micah McFadden went 11 total tackles, with 8 of them being solo. Brian Burns had a sack. Kayvon Thibodeau had a sack. Trey Hawkins III had an interception. Amir Smith-Marset had 2 kick returns for a total of 49 yards with their long of 25. He also had 5 punt returns for a total of 46 yards with a long of 15. Graham Gano, 1 of 2 with a long of 43. So that game was very dull, and it didn't get exciting until the very end when you thought the Giants might have a chance to drive the field and tie it and send it to overtime. But there was also a part of you screaming, no, God, please, no. No, God.
No.
This game has been too long already. No, God. And then the Saints block the kick, and you thank Jesus. Or, whatever deity you believe probably intervened on their behalf. Your turn. I've gotten the boring ones out of the way.
There might be one other kind of boring one, but it wasn't super boring. It was just very one-sided.
There were a couple of those.
Yeah, there was. Let's talk about... You know what? I'm going to take one that's kind of funny, that I did not expect. And I'm going to take it. We're going to talk about the Bills at the Rams. The Rams win 44-42.
We both picked the Bills, by the way, so we both lose this one.
We do. I debated on the Rams, but I just seriously didn't think they had much of a chance, and realistically, they probably shouldn't have, but here we are.
According to you, Bill's apparently the refs in that game were straight trash.
Oh yeah, the refs were straight trash. But for several different reasons. Wait, no, was it this game or was it a different game?
Yeah, it was this game. You said the Bills were not getting any...
I thought it was a different game. Hold on. Let me double check. I could have sworn it was a different game for some reason. Because I thought there was another game that I was talking about. Because I know there's another game that was kind of bad. Was it this one? Hold on. I'm even going back to double check because I'm even like, really? Did I remember that? Hold on.
The refs are calling ticky-tack shit in the Bills game. Been quite bad, honestly. Also looks like the Seahawks will take the lead in their division. Man, these refs...
Yeah, because I know the Chargers one was kind of bad. That's the one that I remember is the Chargers one was kind of shit.
Man, these refs really suck.
Yeah. I honestly don't remember which one this one was, but I do remember there being some bad reffing plays where they were calling like a lot of on both sides, to be honest. There was a lot of like minor stuff that was getting called as like DPIs or holdings, and like there was a lot of like weird it just felt kind of bizarre with some of the calls that they were making, where it was, I think it was mostly like DPIs. They were calling DPIs like they were fucking candy almost. Like there was quite a few moments where I was just like, they barely touched each other. You're gonna call DPI on that? What the fuck? And it was happening on both sides. It wasn't like either one was getting a huge advantage from it. It was just kind of stupid to watch. Anyways, with that being said, despite the fact that the refs certainly weren't helping any, it still ended up being just a straight our defenses don't know how to play anymore, so we're just gonna see how offensive we can win. I mean, collectively they put up what 86 points. I mean, that's fucking ridiculous.
That is pretty bad.
That's ridiculous. All right, let's look at stats. Josh Allen, 22 of 37, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Normally that looks like a really good stat line. How do you lose a football game with that? Well, we'll get to that. Rushing. Josh Allen, 10 for 82 and 3 touchdowns. That's right. Josh Allen, by himself, got 6 touchdowns in this game.
And they still lost.
And they still lost. Receiving. Amari Cooper, 6 for 95. Khalil Shakir, 5 for 106 and a touchdown. Mac Hollins, 4 for 57 and a touchdown. Ty Johnson, 2 for 55 and a touchdown. No fumbles. No interceptions. No sacks. Kicking. Tyler Bass, 0 for 0 on field goals, but 6 for 6 on extra points. Kickoff returns. Brandon Cordington had 1 for 20. Ray Davis had 1 for 14. No punt returns. Now, normally, those stats, you go, God damn, how do you lose that game? Well, let's go talk about the Rams now, because you're going to find out pretty quick. If I can get the stats to go over. Come on. There we go. Rams. Matthew Stafford, 22 of 30, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. Rushing. Kyrene Williams, 29 for rushing attempts for 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. Puka Nacua, 5 rushing attempts for 16 yards and a touchdown, because Puka could do it all, apparently.
Apparently.
Cooper Kupp, 5 receptions for 92 yards and a touchdown. Kyrene Williams, 2 for 10. Puka Nacua, 12 for 162 yards and a touchdown.
And that touchdown he caught, I think, was at the end of the game. It was the game winner.
Yeah, it was.
Where he just, ran through people.
Oh, yeah. Tutu Atwell, 3 for 45. No interceptions. No sacks. Their kicker, Joshua Carty, 1 for 1 on field goals for a long of 22 and 5 for 6 on extra points. Kickoff returns was done by Jordan Whittington. He had 3 for a long of 33, and Xavier Smith was the punt returner, 1 for 8. It was a very close game, to be blunt. There was basically no defense, and Josh Allen got all of the points, quite literally all of the points. And, I would argue he was a one-man army because he damn near was, but it obviously football, as we know, is a team sport. And even though you are that good of a football player, that isn't enough, very clearly. If the Bills' defense would have done fucking anything, the Bills would have ran away with this game, to be honest. Their defense really let them down big in this game.
All right, I want to talk about an exciting game.
Okay.
I want to talk about a game that was more exciting than I think it should have been.
Okay.
It's a game that went to overtime. Jets at Dolphins.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that one did go no.
Yeah, that one went all the way to overtime.
Shouldn't have been.
We both picked the Dolphins. We were both right. Dolphins win 32-26 in overtime. And by the way, that loss officially eliminates the Jets from playoff contention.
It did, yep. Shocking, I know.
Shocking that they were still in contention before that. But let's talk about it. Aaron Rodgers, 27 of 39, 339 yards and a touchdown, sacked 3 times for 20 yards. Look, that's a good game. Did not throw an interception, only sacked 3 times, threw for over 300 yards. That's pretty good. Would like more touchdowns? But that's overall good. Why didn't they do better? Because their running game, Braylon Allen, 11 for 43, Isaiah Davis, 10 for 40 and a touchdown. That's it. That's why. Garrett Wilson, 7 receptions, 114 yards. Devontae Adams, 9 catches, 109 yards and a touchdown. Braylon Allen, 4 catches for 38 yards. Outside of those two, they've got nothing. Tyler Conklin, 3 for 33. Isaiah Davis, 3 for 27. Alan Lazard, 1 for 18. Ruckert failed to haul in his the only target he had. They did not have any fumbles. Defensively, Jamie and Sherwood had 18 total tackles. 13 of them were solo. They did not record a sack. They did not record an interception. For that defense, that's a travesty.
True.
Xavier Gibson had 1 kick return for 29 yards and 2 punt returns for no yards. Anders Carlson was 4 of 4 on his field goals for a long of 42 yards and 2 of 2 on extra points. Look, I think the biggest problem was when they'd get down close to the red zone and then just every drive they'd have would stall. They couldn't get anything once they got into that area. The Dolphins just locked them up. Wasn't anything they could do. The Dolphins, on the other hand, Tua, 33 of 47, 331 yards, 2 touchdowns. No sacks. Was not sacked. Devon Achane, 14 carries, 24 yards, and a touchdown. Not so great. Jalen Wright, 2 for 7. Tyreek Hill, 1 for 6. Jeff Wilson Jr., 1 for 4. Tua, 1 for 3. Receiving, however, Tyreek Hill. Hey, guess what? The Cheetah, 10 for 115 and a touchdown. About time he scored and went over 100 yards. It's only been since week 1 that we've seen that.
True.
Of course, we will say he has been playing the entire season with a torn tendon in his wrist. Jalen Waddle, 9 catches, 99 yards. Devon Achane, 6 for 45. He also wasn't playing with Tua for most of the season.
Also true.
Jonnu Smith, 3 for 44 and a touchdown. Julian Hill, 1 for 14. Jeff Wilson Jr., 1 for 7. Jalen Wright, 2 for 6. Odell Beckham Jr., 1 for 1. Durham Smythe and Malik Washington failed to haul in their targets. Defensively, Jordan Brooks had 9 total tackles, 4 solo, and a sack. Zach Sealer had 2 sacks for a total of 3. They did not have any interceptions. Malik Washington had 3 kick returns for a total of 95 yards with a long of 45. D. Eskridge had 1 kick return for 28 yards. Malik Washington also had a punt return for 10 yards. Jason Sanders, 4 for 4 on field goals with a long of 57. Also, 0 of 1 on extra points. So you can kick a 57-yard field goal, but can't kick an extra point. What the fuck, dude? In the end, Miami wins 32-26. Bye, Jets.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know what you're going to do now.
No idea.
But no one cares.
Not really.
All right, your turn.
Okay, let's talk about a football game.
There were a couple of those.
There was a couple of those. Man, this is I'm pretty sure I picked this team to win, but I didn't expect it to turn out this way. So let's talk about Seattle at the Cardinals. Seattle wins 30-18.
You did pick Seattle to win, and I picked Arizona. So
yeah, I didn't. I remember being torn on this game because I really felt it could have gone either way. I did not expect the game to end up being so one-sided by the end of it.
I did not either, and I thought going into the desert would wilt Seattle, and that didn't happen.
Not at all. So we'll talk about stats, and we'll start with the Seahawks. Geno Smith, 24 of 30, 233 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Rushing, they had Zach Charbonnet having a fantastic game, quite frankly. 22 rushing attempts for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. Receiving, DK Metcalf, 4 for 49. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 5 for 82 and a touchdown. And Noah Fant, 3 for 18. And Zach Charbonnet, 7 for 59. Geno Smith did fumble the ball, but did not lose it. Kobe Bryant. He had 1 Sorry. Different spelling.
I know, Coby.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
1 interception. Every time I get it. Every time I see it, I'm like, Kobe!
Kobe!
Kobe got 1 interception. Ernest Jones got 1 interception for a total of 2 interceptions on the night. Jonathan Hankins had a sack. Rayshon Jenkins had a sack. Are they related? Hold on. No, different spellings. It's okay. Kicking. Jason Myers, 3 for 3 on field goals for a long of 36 and 3 for 3 on extra points. Kicking. Jalen Darden had 1 kickoff return for 27 yards and 1 punt return for 14 yards. Overall, Seattle played well, but they definitely ran most of their offense through Zach Charbonnet, and he had a fantastic game.
Oh, yeah. I looked at that and I went, oh, it's the wine game.
Oh, yeah. Charbonnet!
Charbonnet!
Sounds a lot like Chardonnay!
Open up a fresh glass of this Charbonnet.
No, I don't think you want that. Put that back. Put that away. You don't want that.
You know what? I'm going to say this. He needs to sponsor a wine called Charbonnet Chardonnay.
You know, I wouldn't be shocked if when he retires, that's not something that ends up happening, to be honest with you. But we'll see. Maybe he's not a wine drinker, so you never know. He might have to do like a Snoop Dogg and partner with somebody or something, you know?
Yeah, partner with don't do it yourself. Partner with a winery and do it.
Yeah. Arizona's passing game. We're talking Kyler Murray, 25 of 38, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Rushing, James Conner, 18 for 90. Kyler Murray was 3 for 16, and Trey Benson was 2 for 15. So most of the rushing was James. Receiving, James Conner, again, 4 for 32 and a touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr., 4 for 49. Michael Wilson, 2 for 57 and a touchdown. Trey McBride, 7 for 70. You know, it still feels weird to see Marvin Harrison Jr. not exploding in the way that we were expecting. Like, he's still playing well. He's just not...
You expect all these 100-yard games and multiple touchdowns and stuff, and just these big games, and he's had one of them.
Yeah, he's had one. And so, is that because they're not utilizing him properly? Is that because he's still a rookie and trying to learn how to play against some of the more hard-nosed DBs?
Because he was too cocky? He didn't. I don't think he was in training camp because of all those legal issues.
Yep, there was some of that too. So we'll see. I'm not going to necessarily knock him. It is a rookie. We'll see how he plays next year, but I will say that I have been underwhelmed by what I expected out of him versus what we've got.
You know, this isn't the first time for that. Quentin Johnson was the same way. And still kind of is.
Yeah. Yeah, he still shows flashes, which is why I think he still has a possibility.
Yes.
And the same thing with Marvin. Like, he has shown a flash here and there, so I think he still can be great. He just needs... There's something missing. I don't know if it's because, again, playing against more professional, hard-nosed DBs is just more difficult, and he's still learning the process. That might be what it is. I don't know. But he certainly didn't come out the gate like a Jordan Jefferson or even a Jordan Addison did, right?
Yeah.
Both those guys in their rookie years came out and were like, right away, people were like,
this year it looks like it's Brian Thomas Jr.
I was going to say, Brian Thomas Jr. looks like a stud.
That dude looks like a stud. Malik Neighbors did until he got hurt.
Did for a while until he got hurt, and then obviously now they don't have Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
so
BTJ looks like a freaking
not going to necessarily put that on
Even
him.
Ladd McConkey hasn't been bad in the past couple of weeks.
Ladd had that one stellar game before the Chiefs game when he got injured. So he couldn't play the Chiefs game. And
the other one that I think is really good is Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers has been good, but I do want to back the train up because somebody I was listening to and somebody else that I talked to brought up a good point, which is he looks amazing because who the fuck else are they throwing to?
That's true.
If they're throwing to him all of the time, of course he's going to get a lot of receptions, right? Of course he's going to catch the ball.
That's true. They don't have a real wide receiver to throw to.
No.
So
that isn't to knock against him. The fact that he is getting thrown to, he is open and he's catching the balls is good. I'm not going to discredit that. But I do want to back the train on that just a little bit and be like, okay, let's see what happens, probably next year, because they're probably going to draft a wide receiver, I'm sure, or a quarterback. Like, they're going to draft one of the two, and we'll see how that goes. But yes, he's definitely been
Oh,
a
they're
good
probably going to get both.
revelation.
I'd say they'll take quarterback in the first round and wide receiver in the second.
Oh yeah, 100%. I just mean as in, are they going to get a high-profile wide receiver first, or are they going to go a high-profile quarterback first? I just don't know. We'll see.
Depends on how they feel about O'Connell after this season and who becomes open on the free agent market and whether or not you have a chance with them.
Like if they're, for example, if we decide not to sign Sam Darnold, and I have a thing about that, so we'll talk about that. But let's say he doesn't get signed a long-term deal, right? That if I was the Raiders, I'd be like, that's not a bad option. Just saying.
All right, are you done, or is there more?
No. I am still going over the. I've only got the receiving. I haven't even gotten to the defense. We got
all
so
right,
sidetracked.
Let's do that defense. Let's go.
No fumble. James Conner did fumble the ball, but did not lose it. No interceptions for Arizona. No sacks for Arizona. Wow, this is really boring. Kicking. Chad Ryland, 1 for 2 for field goals for a long of 28, 1 for 1 on extra points. No kickoff returns, and Greg Dortch returned 2 punts for a long of 13. So there we go. Seattle just kind of ran away with the ball, quite literally. In fact, Zach Charbonnet was their entire offense. Arizona had no answer for it, and in fact, they threw up picks, which is unfortunate for them. And I think that ultimately sealed their game because they weren't that far back, but those picks, man, 18-30. I mean, you think about those 2 picks, maybe instead turning into touchdowns. Now the game's a lot closer. Yeah. So, unfortunately, Kyler Murray threw up a little two Aaron passes that got picked off.
Yup.
Right, you go.
All right, I'm going to talk about the most entertaining quarterback in the NFL today.
Most entertaining?
Most entertaining.
I don't know. Sam Darnold's pretty entertaining. Unless we're talking about just fun. No, Will Levis, I would argue, is fairly entertaining too, but for different reasons.
No. This is entertaining for a different reason.
Um,
He's the quarterback that you want to play in the NFL. You just don't want him to play for you.
Will Levis.
How about
I think it's a very
Cleveland?
but I know he already
Cleveland
talked
at
about him.
Pittsburgh. How about
I
Jameis
don't know about
Winston?
you. Jameis Winston, I think, can be a great starter, but not always.
That's why I said he's entertaining. You don't know exactly. You know you're going to get a couple of throws that you just go, "What are you thinking?" And you know you're going to get something that goes, "Oh my god, that was amazing."
So if you haven't seen it, I implore that you should find it. Before the games, they do the before the games actually start, they'll show stats head. And they'll show, it won't even be the head. Sometimes they'll be like for the QBs, they'll be like green screened with stats, and you'll see them like fucking around with the ball and spinning the ball. Oh my god, with Jameis, his whole thing, he started spinning the ball. He's like, woo! He's acting like super goofy and shit. And you're like, what the fuck, Jameis? And Bo Nix is just there being super serious, spinning the ball and shit. And Jameis is just like, woo!
That's why I said he's entertaining.
Again, a dude that clearly is just having fun.
Exactly. He's entertaining and having a great time. Let's talk about it, though, because his Cleveland Browns did play the Pittsburgh Steelers. We picked the Steelers to win. We were right. Browns lose 14-27.
It actually was fairly close for a while there, to be honest with you.
Jameis Winston, 24 of 41, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Sounds normal.
3 sacks for 16 yards. Rushing, Nick Chubb, 11 carries, 48 yards. Yeah. Jameis Winston, 4 carries, 28 yards. Jerome Ford, 10 for 28. Receiving, Jerry Jeudy follows up this game with a 5 for 64 and a touchdown. David Njoku, 7 for 42 and a touchdown. Elijah Moore, 3 for 34. Jerome Ford, 3 for 19. James Proche II, 2 for 18. Jordan Akins, 1 for 14. Michael Woods II, 1 for 12. Pierre Strong Jr., 2 for 9. Nick Chubb and Blake Whiteheart failed to haul in their targets. The man with the greatest hands on the planet, Kadarius Toney, did fumble and lose it on a muffed punt, which, if you saw the muffed punt, was the most hilarious shit ever. Because he was sitting here trying to get his hands on it, just like all over the place.
Yeah, it was kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. Jameis fumbled, but recovered, and Myles Garrett did recover a fumble. Defensively, Mahmoud Diabate. Diabate. Mahmoud Diabate had 7 total tackles, 2 of them were solo. Myles Garrett had a sack. It was the only one they had, and it went to him, because of course it did. Jerome Ford had a kick return for 56 yards. Kadarius Toney had 4 punt returns, one of which he fucking muffed, for 44 yards with a long of 19. Dustin Hopkins missed both his field goals, but was 2 of 2 on extra points. Steelers, Russell Wilson, 15 of 26, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, only sacked once. Najee Harris, 16 of 53 for a touchdown. Jalen Warren, 9 for 47. Russell Wilson, 6 for 17. Cordero Patterson, 4 for 3. Receiving, Pat Freiermuth, 3 for 48 and a touchdown. Scotty Miller, 3 for 38. Mike Williams, 3 for 36. Jalen Warren, 2 for 25. Van Jefferson, 1 for 10 and a touchdown. Calvin Austin III, 1 for 4. Darnell Washington did not haul in his only target. Michael Pruitt and Cordero Patterson both had receptions, but both went for negative yardage. Cordero Patterson also had a fumble and lost it, and Ben Skowronek recovered a fumble. Defensively, Deshaun Elliott had 13 total tackles, 9 of them solo. Cameron Hayward had 2 sacks, and Alex Highsmith had a sack. James Pierre had an interception. Keanu Benton had an interception. Calvin Austin III had 2 punt returns for a total of 20 yards with a long of 11. Boswell was 2 for 2 on field goals with a long of 54 and 3 for 3 on extra points. So they didn't turn the ball over as much, and they had a kicker that could hit the frickin' field goals. Yeah, that tracks. That tracks. So yeah, Steelers go ahead and win. What we thought was going to be a down year for the Steelers has been really good. We thought Russell Wilson was washed Wilson. He's been really good. Okay, this year doesn't make any sense. Your turn.
Pretty much.
Your turn.
All right. Fuck it. I guess I'll take it. Let's talk about the Bears at the 49ers. 49ers win 38-13.
We both picked the Bears thinking the Niners were washed and just done, and they'd been playing well recently, and they finally got rid of the clog in the machine. But was that really the clog in the machine?
Bears still suck, apparently. Even worse, I feel bad for them because at least the last couple weeks they were close. This wasn't even close. Like, from the get-go, halftime was 24-0. Like, it was never, ever close. Alright, let's look at stats. Caleb Williams, 17 of 23, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Rushing, Caleb Williams, 4 for 27, DeAndre Swift, 14 for 38. Receiving, DJ Moore, 6 for 49, Keenan Allen, 3 for 30, Rome Odunze, 4 for 42 and 2 touchdowns. Fumbles, Caleb Williams had 1 and lost it. Jonathan Owens actually came away with an interception. Let's look at TJ Edwards, came away with 1 sack on the night. Kicking, Cairo Santos, 1 for 1 on extra points. Kickoff returns, DeAndre Carter had 1 for 25, and punt returns, Josh Blackwell had 1 for 14. Yeah, their defense really didn't do much outside of the 1 interception. Otherwise, they didn't do a whole lot. So let's look at the 49ers and see how they played. Brock Purdy, 20 of 25 for 325 yards and 2 touchdowns. I would say that's significantly better. Rushing, Isaac Gorando, 15 for 78 for 2 touchdowns. For whatever reason, I don't know how this happens, but the 49ers seem to find running backs out of fucking thin air and finds a way to make them work.
Poof.
And this is also now my strongest argument for why they should move on from Christian McCaffrey. He's too much money, and you clearly don't need him. I'm sorry to say it, but it is what it is.
I agree. I'm not going to say that that's wrong.
Let's look at receiving now. We have Deebo Samuel for 2 receptions for 22 yards. I think they strongly regret signing Deebo because I don't think he's had a good game since he's re-signed. I
don't
can't
think so.
of.
I can't think of one.
Yeah. I don't think they should have re-signed him. Unfortunately,
I think that money could have been used elsewhere.
100%. In fact, that money could have been used to pay Brock Purdy this offseason.
Yeah.
Because that's coming.
Yeah. And looking at the guy they got in the draft, he's been decent at times.
Oh, Parasol? Yeah, he's had a couple. He's had a couple good games. George Kittle, 6 for 151 yards. Isaac Arando had 2 for 50. Jawan Jennings, 7 for 90 and 2 touchdowns. Ricky did play, but he only had 1 reception for 5 yards. They didn't use him that much in this game. No interceptions. Leonard Floyd had 2 sacks, and Malik Collins had 1 sack. And Yuder Gross Matos, 3 sacks, for a total of 7 sacks on the night.
Yeter Gross Matos.
That's just a fun name.
I love it.
Kicking, we had Jake Moody, 1 for 1 on field goals, 223 with a long for 5 for 5 on extra points. No kickoff returns, and Jacob Cowing had 4 punt returns for a long of 8 yards. Like I said, this game was never close. It was San Francisco just telling people that, hey, don't forget, we sometimes play good football too. We're not quite done yet.
No, but you're probably done this season, sadly.
They're technically not out of it yet, but
I know.
Probably.
Technically, nobody in the West is out of it yet.
Yeah, that's just because of how fucked up that division is. And not in a good way like ours. Ours is fucked up because everyone's good outside the Bears. Theirs is fucked up because most of them are kind of middling.
Yeah. If any of them played in our division, they'd actually be in the Bears' position.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to talk about the last day game before we get into the final two. I'm going to talk about Las Vegas at Tampa Bay. Obviously, O'Connell had to come out of the game, and they did replace him with Ritter. Let's get into it. Mm-hmm. We both picked Tampa to win, by the way. Tampa does win 28-13, so we are both winners. O'Connell was 11 of 19 for 104 yards and a pick, sacked once for 10 yards. Ritter was 12 of 18 for 101 yards and no interceptions and no touchdowns, and was only sacked once for no loss. I mean, those are relatively close stat lines. Sincere McCormick ran 15 times for 78 yards. Aiden O'Connell ran 6 times for 6 yards and 1 touchdown. Brock Bowers ran 1 time for 3 yards. Ritter ran 2 times for 3 yards. And Amir Abdullah ran 1 for 1 yard. Michael Mayer, hey, been waiting for him to have a game ever since they drafted him 2 years ago. 7 total receptions for 68 yards. Jacoby Meyer had 7 for 67. Bowers had 3 for 49. McCormick had 2 for 11. Trey Tucker had 2 for 7. Terrence Marshall Jr. had 1 for 6. And Amir Abdullah had 1 for -3. Aiden O'Connell did fumble and lose. Ritter fumbled but recovered. And Trayvon Morig recovered a fumble. Morig also had 8 total tackles. 5 of them were solo and half a sack. Darnay Holmes had a sack. Kalavian Chasion had half a sack. And Adam Butler had a sack. And Amari Burney had a sack. Woo! Jack Jones had an interception. And Kalavian Chasion had an interception. Amir Abdullah returned 2 kicks for a total of 59 yards with a long of 30. He returned 2 punts for 30 yards with a long of 16. Daniel Carlson hit both his field goals this week with a long of 27 and was 1 for 1 on extra points. Let's talk about the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, 18 of 29, 295 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked 4 times for 27 yards. Rachaad White, 17 carries, 90 yards and a touchdown. Sean Tucker, 3 for 47. Baker Mayfield, 2 for 12. Bucky Irving, 4 for 3. Receiving, Kate Otten, 3 for 70. Mike Evans, 4 for 69. Sterling Shepard, 4 for 63. Jalen McMillan, 4 for 59 and 2 touchdowns. Rachaad White, 2 for 19 and a touchdown. Bucky Irving, 1 for 15. Okay. Bucky Irving, 1 for 15, and Sean Tucker did not haul in either of his targets. Baker Mayfield fumbled and lost it. Trey Palmer fumbled but recovered, and Levante David recovered a fumble. Speaking of Levante David, leading the way on defense with 7 total tackles, 5 of them solo, and 1 for a sack. Kevon Merriweather also had a sack. Tyke Smith had a pick. Sean Tucker had a kick return for 25 yards, and Raheem Jarrett had a kick return for 23 yards. Trey Palmer had a punt return for 3 yards. Chase McLaughlin did not attempt a field goal, but was 4 for 4 on his extra points. Baker doing Baker things, which includes throwing interceptions, because he's a gunslinger. It's what Baker does. At least he throws more touchdowns than he does interceptions on a general basis. So he's generally more helpful to having you win than he is to helping you lose. All right, which night game do you want?
I'll just take the first one because fuck them. Why not? We'll talk about the Chiefs and the Chargers. Unfortunately, the Chiefs come away with another miracle fucking win, 19-17.
I picked the Chiefs. You picked the Chargers.
Shoulda won.
Shoulda
won. All right, let's talk stats. Justin Herbert, 21 of 30, 213 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Rushing, Gus Edwards, 10 for 36 and a touchdown. Justin Herbert, 4 for 12. Kamani Vidal had 8 for 34. Receiving, Josh Palmer, 6 for 78. Quentin Johnston had 5 for 48 and a touchdown. Stone Smart, spelled with 2 T's, had 3 for 54. And Will Disley had 2 for 19. Darius Davis fumbled the ball but did not lose it. No interceptions. Derwin James had a sack. Joey Bosa had a sack. Khalil Mack had half a sack. And Tuli Tupalu, I can never say your name, Tuli, I'm sorry, for half a sack. For a total of 3 sacks on the night. Kicking, Cameron Dicker, the kicker, 1 for 1 on field goals for a long of 37 for 2 for 2 on extra points. Darius Davis had 4 kickoff returns for a long of 37 and 1 punt return for no yards. Yeah, the Chargers' offense in the first half was non-existent entirely.
Yes.
They did all of their work in the second half, thankfully, and so they made it interesting, but...
And Quentin Johnson came alive in the second half, making some great catches and showing all that flash. Couldn't do it in the first.
No. Unfortunately, this is one of those cases of too little too late.
Yeah.
Let's look at the stats for Kansas City. We have Patrick Mahomes, 24 for 37, 210 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Rushing, Isaiah Pacheco, 14 for 55, Kareem Hunt, 5 for 16, Patrick Mahomes, 4 for 17. Receiving, DeAndre Hopkins, 4 for 32 and a touchdown, Juju Smith-Schuster, 2 for 31. Noah Gray, 4 for 26. Travis Kelce, 5 for 41, or for 45, and Xavier Worthy, 5 for 41. I hate to tell you, but they won, but it's not pretty.
No,
they have not been winning games in any meaningful way.
No, they haven't, and I don't understand it.
Yeah. No fumbles, no interceptions. Nick Bolton had 1 sack, and Tershawn Wharton had 2 sacks for a total of 3 sacks on the night. Matthew Wright was 4 for 4 on field goals for a long of 50 and 1 for 1 on extra points. Kickoff returns, we have Nico Remigo. I don't know if that's how you say that name. 2 kickoff receptions for a long of 27. And Samaje Perine had 1 kickoff return for 33 yards. Nico also had 3 punt returns for a long of 21. This is a game that the Chiefs easily could have lost if the Chargers would have played just a little bit better on the in the first half. And the funny thing is, I don't even think the Chargers played particularly poorly in the first half. I just don't think their offense was able to get going well enough. Because their defense held actually very, very well in the for the most of the first half.
I think if
and
they'd
pretty
had,
well in the second half.
there's a part of me that thinks if they'd had Dobbins in the first half, like he wasn't
Maybe.
injured.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
It's very possible. It's one of those things where you watch it and you're just like, man, this was a very winnable game because the Chargers defense kind of played their heart out and they really stuffed Mahomes. And man, even when he was getting passes off, they were letting him know they weren't happy with him.
Yeah.
He was getting hit a lot, and none of them were late hits, mind you.
Nope.
None of them were. I don't think a single one was a late hit. It's just, Mahomes is one of those players that just he's just good at being able to get off those passes before he gets
And
the sack.
it was like I said to you, and I said it right during the first half. I said, apparently, the Chargers have decided that the best way to win this game is to murder Mahomes in the pocket.
And honestly, it is a sound strategy. It does work. Obviously, you can tell defensively by putting so much pressure on him, they were able to make it more difficult for him to easily find players downfield quickly. And it was working. Unfortunately, like I said, the Chargers offense, especially in the first half, they got the ball so many times, and the amount of times they'd get like 1 or 2 first downs and then punt away, it was ridiculous.
Yep.
I think if they even get a field goal in the first half at all, I think they come away with a potential win in this game. It's unfortunate.
All right, I'm going to close this out tonight with the Monday Night Football game, a game that ended in the weirdest way possible.
I didn't see the ending, so.
Oh, did you not see this?
I did not see the ending.
Bengals go to punt. They've been stopped. They're going to punt out of their end. It's the fourth quarter's winding down. It's probable that the Cowboys are going to get into position to be able to kick the game-winning field goal. But they're going to have to punt. Punt is blocked. Punt is blocked. But it still goes forward a little bit. It's not fully blocked. It's like tipped.
Okay, so it still makes some headroom for it. Okay.
It makes some headroom, but it's still considered a blocked kick.
Yeah.
So it stumbles forward and then comes to Amani Oruwariye.
Oruwariye, yep.
Bounces up off of his arm, becomes a live ball, which is then recovered by the Bengals, who then score the winning touchdown. It was a 20-20 game.
Dallas just can't win, can they? They just can't.
No, they should have won that game, honestly.
They probably should have.
They definitely should have, and then they blew it. So let's talk about it. Let's get into these stats. We're going to start with the Bengals. Joe Burrow, 33 of 44 for 369 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, sacked twice for 10 yards. Chase Brown ran 14 times for 58 yards. Jamar Chase got 1 for 14 yards. Khalil Herbert, 2 for 4. And Joe Burrow, 2 for -2. Which I believe were the kneel downs at the end of the game to ice it away.
Yeah.
Or no, he didn't kneel. I don't know where those were from. Jamar Chase, 14 for 177 and 2 touchdowns. Every time he plays on Monday night, he's putting on a show.
Sounds about right.
Chase Brown, 6 for 65 and a touchdown. And after he scored that tight roam touchdown, guess what he did? Did you see it?
I don't think so.
He went and jumped in the Salvation Army pot.
Didn't somebody
Zeke,
last year do that?
not
That
last
got
year, a
fined
couple
for
of years
doing.
back, Zeke jumped in the Salvation Army pot.
Yeah, didn't he
I
get
don't know if he got
fined
fined
for
for it or not,
Oh man,
but he recreated
that's
it at
hilarious.
Dallas, so that was funny.
Of course,
Uh,
of course.
Andre Yoshivash, 4 catches, 41 yards. Mike Gesicki, 3 for 24. T. Higgins, 2 for 23. Tanner Hudson, 1 for 19. Drew Sample, 2 for 13. Khalil Herbert, 1 for 7. Burrow had a fumble, but didn't lose it. Tanner Hudson had a recovery, and Mamiya Youngmeta also had a recovery. Akeem Davis Gaithier had 8 total tackles, with 5 of them being solo to lead the way on defense. Joseph Osai had a sack. BJ Hill had a sack. And Trey Hendrickson had a sack. Geno Stone had an interception. Khalil Herbert had 2 kick returns for 67 yards total and a long of 35. Isaiah Williams returned 4 punts for a total of 25 yards with a long of 12. Cade York hit 2 field goals with a log of 37 and all 3 of his extra points. Dallas. Cooper Rush, 16 of 31, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, sacked 3 times for 17 yards. Rico Dowdle, 18 carries, 131 yards. I think they found a guy to run the ball for them.
Fair.
Kevontae Turpin, 2 for 15. Cooper Rush, 2 for 5. Ezekiel Elliott, 2 for 4. CeeDee Lamb, 1 for 1. CeeDee Lamb also caught 6 passes for 93 yards and a touchdown with an injured shoulder. As he said, getting hit in the shoulder wasn't bothering him, but landing on the ground for some reason jarred him and bothered the shoulder. Jake Ferguson had 3 catches for 32 yards. Luke Schoonmaker had 2 for 22. Kevontae Turpin, 1 for 16. Dowdle, 1 for 10. Hunter Lupke, 1 for 5. Brandon Cooks, 1 for 3 and a touchdown. Ezekiel Elliott, 1 for 2. Jalen Tolbert, Jonathan Mingo, and Ryan Flournoy failed to haul in any of their targets. As we mentioned, Amani Oruwariye did fumble and lose it when he touched that ball off the blocked punt. Eric Kendricks leading the way on defense with 12 total tackles, 8 of them solo. Donovan Wilson had half a sack. Marist Liufau had 1.5 sacks for the total of 2. Malik Hooker did have an interception. Kevontae Turpin returned a punt for 20 yards. Amani Oruwariye technically gets credit for that punt return, even though it really wasn't, for 0 yards and a fumble. Brandon Aubrey, 2 for 2 on field goals, with a long of 47 and 2 for 2 on extra points. If Oruwariye had just stayed out of the way and let the ball finish where it was, the Cowboys would have been in range for Brandon Aubrey to kick a game-winning field goal. They could have run the ball a couple of times, bled the clock down, and kicked the game-winning field goal to go home. Or, well, to win at home. Instead, Oruwariye just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, or perhaps the right time, and has the ball bounce right off of him. Damn, Dallas. Can't buy a win. And that is the end of this week. At least for the breakdowns. I think it's time to tell some people to hit the showers and wash up. Because they stank this week. You want to start?
What?
It's time to hit the showers.
No, I know. I got a bird in my face.
I know. Do you want to start? You want me to start?
I mean, whatever you want to do, bud.
I'll
trying
start.
not to get bit in the face right now.
I know. I'll go ahead and start then. Kirk Cousins. Hit the showers.
That's fair. That seems pretty fair. I'm not gonna lie about that. Kyler Murray hit the showers.
Drew Lock hit the showers.
Caleb Williams hit the showers.
Amani Oruwariye hit the showers.
And I'll end on maybe a kind of a mean note, but still one that I think is slightly deserved for different reasons. Derek Carr hit the showers.
What the fuck were you thinking?
Why would you do that, man? Come on.
All right, let's hit the Inferno. I don't have any nice ones this week, by the way.
I have some ones that are not super mean, and then I have one that's really mean.
All of mine are like burn in hell. So you can start with a not super mean one.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll start with a not so mean one. The Bengals, in general, third circle. I don't even know what you are, and I don't think you know what you are. So here you are.
The Ref Crews, ninth circle. Look, you've been bad all year. I'm finally calling you out on it.
They have some decent games, but they've been all over the place.
They've got like one crew I think that's really good, and everybody else.
I was gonna say there's one crew that's decent. I would say one crew that's actually good, one crew that's decent, and then the rest of them are so mishmashy that you just don't even know.
Yep.
Speaking of teams, I put the Giants in here at the fourth circle. Let the tank begin. Hopefully, no one loses their job.
Doug Peterson, you won, and you're still in the 10th circle.
I have him off my thing just because, like, at this point, I'm convinced that they're not going to fire him mid-season. He's just going to be gone in the offseason because I don't think he's sticking around.
I don't think he is either, but what the hell, man?
And for my last one, it's a play on what we talked about last week, but I have doubled down harder than I did previously because of what has been said by both parties since the incident. Aziz Al-Shaair and Nick Cassero, you're in the 11th fucking circle. I've lost all fucking respect for either one of you. I don't give a shit about either one of you. And in fact, I no longer am a Texans fan because of you. I'm still like CJ Stroud, but I do not give a shit about your organization anymore. Congratulations!
I have a team that's the final one for me. The Bears. 10th circle, burn it down, you're done. You looked worse without the guy that everybody said was the problem. What the fuck? You guys are terrible. Terrible!
I mean, we kind of, come on, let's be honest, we kind of expected this, though. Anyone that thought the interim coaching was going to somehow be better than previously is out of their mind. At this point, the season is pulled for the Bears, and we all know that it's all about what they're going to do next year.
All right, game balls.
You or me?
You can start.
I have a couple options.
I have lots of options.
So I'll go with... That's true, there's a lot of options. I'll go with Josh Allen, game ball.
He's on my list. I'll give Sam Darnold a game ball.
I figured you'd go that direction, so I'll go Jordan Addison, game ball.
All right, I also, I'm going to go with Zach Charbonnet, game ball.
That's fair, that's fair. Would normally do JJ, but I don't like to do same teams if I can avoid it. Let me see here. Who do I want to go with? Puka Nacua, game ball.
Tyreek Hill, game ball.
It's been a while since he's gotten one, actually.
And that's why I gave him one. It's been quite a while. Also, shout-outs to Brock Purdy and, of course, JJ. So, yeah. That's pretty good. I'll take that. Hot potato, hot potato?
Sure.
Hot potato, hot potato. You want to start? You want me to start?
I got one, but I'm gonna save it for last because I don't count it as a true hot potato. It will be, but it's a long statement potato. um, do I have a good easy one? You know what? Just go off. I think I had one in my mind, but I forgot it. So I'll let you go first.
Maybe, just maybe, the Rams are going to win the NFC West.
It's possible. It
Because
is gonna
I
come
looked
down.
at this now.
Yeah.
They already have beaten the Seahawks once, and they don't play them
Yep.
until the last game of the
Last
season.
game. Yeah.
If they
I was
keep
gonna say
pace,
it's entirely possible. It's just gonna come down to if honestly, it's legitimately gonna come down to Seahawks defense versus Rams offense. It's a real possibility. And I think I even put them as a dark horse at some point. Granted, I originally picked the Cardinals, and it doesn't seem like that's going to happen at this point.
no, it does not.
Um,
For a
the
little
Rams
bit,
have
it
always
would
kind
have.
of been, yeah, the Rams have always been kind of a dark horse for me, but yeah, it's definitely possible. Seahawks right now do hold that, but I think the Rams can wrestle it away. It is possible. I'll kind of take that. I'm not gonna. I don't want to 100% commit to it, but I'm definitely leaning to that. That could realistically happen. Um, where do I want to start first? I think we'll start here. Maybe, just maybe, CJ Stroud is regressing.
I don't know if he's regressing so much as the O line is regressing.
I will exactly. That's the question, though. But like, there have been moments where if you watch him play, that there's just certain plays where you're like, that's not something he would have done before. That's weird.
I think he's getting happy feet because his O line is so bad. I think that's part of the problem.
That's possible. That's possible.
So I'm not gonna quite eat that yet, but I do think there's something there that he needs to work out, and I think it is the O line.
Fair.
Maybe the Cowboys are better without Dak.
I don't know if I necessarily want to say they're better without Dak, but I will say that they're not any worse off without Dak, if that makes sense.
That does.
Like, because I think I've talked to you about this before for a while. Dak is a good, competent quarterback. He is not a superstar worth the money you've been paying him. And I think I think this is the biggest proof of it. The fact that you can have a backup come in and still manage the game and play fairly well. I mean, I don't know if there's a better proof than that. Because I don't like if you're going to argue that Dak wins some of those games if he was there instead, I would disagree.
I definitely disagree.
So yeah, that's fair. All right, I got another interesting one for you. Maybe, just maybe, the Panthers will contend for their division next year.
No, I'll eat that. The way that Bryce Young has stepped forward. Yeah, no, totally on board with that. They've been a much improved team over the year. I think they're starting to buy into the system. I think they're starting to believe. I think next year, given a good draft pick this year, you could really see, like, give them a good wide receiver. I think you could see a real big turnaround.
Yep, I agree.
All right, here, this one is super spicy, so I won't be surprised if you pass on it.
Okay.
Maybe we were all wrong about Matt Eberflus, and he was the one actually keeping the Bears competitive?
Fuck no. Fuck no. Listen, I understand where you're coming from because this last game they played was so bad, but nothing excuses that horrendous clock management in Thanksgiving. There's
I'm not
no
saying
excuse
it
for that.
does. I'm just saying that he was the reason that they were in any of those games to begin with.
I can't agree with that. I understand what you're saying, but I can't like. They could have won that game if he wasn't the own person in his own way. Like it maybe he brought more to the team than people thought, but he was also the person bringing himself down constantly too. Like You can't be the guy that's
be,
also propping you up and bringing you down at the
I feel
same
like
time.
he'd
You
be a
know?
hell of a defensive coordinator for them. I just don't feel like
Oh yeah,
he's a great head
probably.
coach.
Yeah, yeah. He seems like no defenses pretty well, but he's just, yeah.
Yeah.
No. Now this last one, I'm not gonna do the whole maybe but maybe thing because I cannot. With how long this statement is gonna be, I cannot. I cannot go that high pitched. So instead, I'm just gonna give you the scenario, and we'll see if you agree or disagree with it.
Okay.
So maybe the Vikings should re-sign Sam Darnold for a 3-year deal and have JJ sit just like Jordan Love did for the Packers.
I think you'd have to talk to both of them about it, and I think they both have to know what they're doing. The problem I have with that is at the end of JJ's contract, you still won't 100% know what you've got if you go that route.
You will, though. And the reason why I say that is because you're seeing what he has indoors, so you'll know what he has. On top of that, that's why I said 3 years. Because at the end of Sam's 3 years, then you get 1 year of JJ as a final prove it year, and that's when you then pay him after that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm not going to say that's a horrible idea.
Because it's been, I'll say that.
I'm glad you didn't float the idea that I've been seeing, which is just stupid.
Well, I was going to say I wanted to bring this up as the best potential possibility because the other possibilities that I hated was re-signing Sam and trading JJ, which is fucking stupid.
I saw that one,
and the reason why that's so dumb is because, first off, JJ's coming off a knee injury. Do you seriously think you're gonna get good trade capital off of that? No one knows what he is. You're not. You traded up to get him. You're not getting that back out. You're just not. There's no reason to do it.
You're not going to get a pick anywhere near that.
No, and so it makes no sense to do it. On top of that, everyone in the building loves JJ. Everyone likes his attitude and how hard he works. So no rational GM or head coach will want to trade on that player unless they're just not good enough to play that position. And so that doesn't make sense. Obviously, moving off of Sam would suck with how he's playing really well, but that is an option they can go down if it turns out they just can't get a decent long-term deal done. But I think realistically, and that's why I said I brought up the idea, if both parties are talked to about it, and they can work out a decent 3-year deal, I think it might be worth doing.
I would agree with that because it sounds like Sam really likes his time here in Minnesota. Sounds like he likes KOC as a coach. Sounds like he likes the organization. He's been treated very well. We might be able to get a decent 3-year deal that doesn't cost us a ridiculous amount of money.
Well, there's that, and then the big thing too on that too is there's no guarantee that he's going to be able to get a good offer from a decent team because it's very, at least to me, it's clear that Sam is really good as long as you have good supporting cast around him. If you traded him, if he tried to go to like the Browns, for example, I don't think that would work. If he went to the Raiders, I don't think that would work because I don't think their O-lines are good enough to support him. You see what I'm saying? So for him, in my mind, if he thinks about it in a way that makes sense, I think he also sees this as the best place to stay to be able to continue his career.
I can see it.
Also, the big one too that I forgot about is JJ's really young. JJ is only 21 years old.
Yes.
By the time the 3 years would be done, he'd be 24. He'd still be super young.
Yeah, he'll still be right in that pocket. Yeah, that's not bad. All right, power rankings.
Sure.
Power rankings. I'll start at number 10.
Okay.
I have the Seattle Seahawks. You've taken over the West for now. You're probably not going to stay here very long because I think you're going to lose out to the Rams, but that's just me. I almost put the Rams here, but you're here because you walloped the Cardinals and took absolute control of the NFC West with that walloping. So you're here, but you're on notice.
That's fair. That's fair. However, I didn't do that. It was on my list. It was an option. Unfortunately, the Seahawks, I would put it at like 11. I
totally understand. I'm not mad at you.
I ended up putting at 10 the Denver Broncos. They were on a bye week, so I They were on my list the week. At least I believe they were on my list prior.
They were.
Um, and they were on a bye, and so they have the same record as the Seahawks. I didn't want to feel like dropping Denver down just because they were on a bye week, so I left them at 10. I think they're fine.
Yep, totally understand. Um, at number 9, have the Green Bay Packers.
Wow. Okay.
You lost to the Lions. Yes, it was a close game.
Fair.
I just like other teams better than you. I have a hate on for you.
I agree, but that's a little lower than even I would have put them. But all right, fair enough. I get it. At number 9, I have the Washington Commanders. You're a good football team. Obviously, you were on a bye. Didn't get to see what happened, and I believe the week before they had lost? Question mark? Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't remember. But they're still. Put it this way: when I watch the Commanders, they are a really good football team until they have to play competition that's as good or better than them, and then they tend to fold a little bit. And so I'm leaving them at 9 because I think they're still a very good football team, but there is still that like extra drive that I want to see from them before I start really throwing them back up on my list.
At number 8, I have the Broncos. I'm a little higher on them than you. Yes, they had a bye. They were already pretty high in my. I think they were like 8th, 9th or 8th in my
Yeah,
list.
you always had them a little higher than I did.
Yeah. So having them at 8 doesn't mean anything. I like them. I think they're a great team. I don't think they're going to win the West. They could make the playoffs though.
Yeah. At 8, I have the Baltimore Ravens. I don't even know. The Ravens are one of those weird teams where like I like what I see sometimes, and then sometimes I really hate what I see. They've been slowly drifting down my list just because, like, I think they're a good enough football team to make playoffs, but maybe not. I don't know.
At number 7, I have the Baltimore Ravens for virtually all the same reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't know what they are.
I don't know what they are.
Week to week, they're constantly changing, you know?
Yeah.
At number 7, I have the Green Bay Packers. They played well. They did the same thing that we did, where they pushed the Lions to their limit. Lions did end up coming away with the win, but the Packers are no slouches. I mean, they're still in a wild card spot themselves.
Yep.
They very well could make playoffs, and I believe that there's a very real, very honest chance that there's going to be 3 NFC North teams in the playoffs.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Number 6, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I could have had you higher. None of the teams above you can I justify dropping down to bring you higher up. I wanted so badly to drop one of them, but they won. I wish they had, but they did.
Well, I made the call, and I did drop one team down. And at 6, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. You are quite literally the worst 12-1 football team I have ever watched play. You honestly don't even deserve to be on this list because legitimately I saw stats about it. With your points for and against, legitimately 6 games could have gone the other way and you would be completely off this list. It is insane.
I actually want to look at their for and against right now.
Yeah, apparently, like I don't remember what the exact margin, but it's crazy.
308 for, 252 against. They're only a plus 56.
Yeah, that's not that much for a 12-1 football team.
No, for example, the Bills are a plus 129.
Yeah.
The Lions are plus 183.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you just look at even their point spreads for their games too, you're just like looking at them and being like, "Fucking hell!" So many of these games could have gone either way.
That's why I have them at 5. They did win using their dark arts again. Didn't even use the refs. They used straight up black magic.
Straight black magic, yeah.
You are the worst 12-1 team I think I've ever seen play football. You're going to lose again. I hope that you do not lose again until the playoffs, and then your dreams are shattered.
Oh my god, that'd be so great. One and done. Oh my god, that'd be so cathartic.
That would be very cathartic.
um, but speaking of, at number 5, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I did swap those because fuck you,
I
Chiefs.
considered
Honestly,
it
at this point,
seriously.
yeah, because honestly, the Steelers have been more impressive to me than the Chiefs, and that's really what this comes down to. Yeah, the Chiefs' record is better, but the Steelers play more sound football, in my opinion. They look more intact as a football team.
At number 4, I have the Buffalo Bills. You lost a heartbreaker. That was a tough, tough loss. But you kept it close all the way to the end.
Mm-hmm.
You don't drop much, but you do drop a little.
At number 4, I have the Bills. I'm in agreement. You do unfortunately drop a little bit. You did lose a game against the Rams. It's not like you guys were ever out of the game, but your defense needs to do a little bit better.
At number 3, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that's about where I had you last week. I don't think you moved. If you did, you only dropped 1, but that's because there's no way that game should have been that close. Look, I get the Panthers have been a lot better. You really needed to hang more on the Panthers if you wanted me to take you seriously.
At number 3, I have the Eagles for pretty much the same reasons. You won. You didn't move because you won, but you don't move up either because it wasn't an impressive win. It was just a normal win.
All right. Again, 1 and 2. 2, Minnesota Vikings. 1, Detroit Lions.
In full agreement.
Look, the Vikings win over the Falcons, super impressive to me.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold absolutely shredded their defense. We haven't had a 5-touchdown quarterback since, I want to say...
Wasn't it Culpepper?
I want to say it was Culpepper was the last one to
I think
throw
the last time that it was reported
us.
was the Culpepper in 2005?
Something like that, yeah. Which tells you everything you need to know. Super impressive win to me that we played our hearts out, and I really love what the team is doing right now. And the Lions, I think they need a separate plane just for Dan Campbell's balls. Look, I'm going to be straight honest with you. Dan Campbell has the biggest balls of anybody in pro football right now.
I think it's interesting though that somebody did bring up that potentially Dan Campbell's balls could also be the downfall for Dan Campbell.
Chris Brockman.
He might trip over his own balls.
Yep, and that's entirely possible. Which
It's
is
real
why we say
playoffs,
you need that one guy to go, wait, you're about to trip over your own balls. Stop.
Yeah. Sir, those are your balls in the way. Please.
Hold up.
Yeah, let me be your dedicated ball holder. All right, I think we've gone too far for you, too.
We've gone a little far now.
Ring it back.
Bring it. All right. But yeah, I think we're both in full agreement on that. Yeah, the Vikings are playing really great football right now. So are the Lions. That final game between them is going to be a
That's gonna be a fun
buster.
Game.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I think there's a chance we could actually win because
there's
we
a
went
shot
to
at it,
the Lions and barely lost, and now they'll be coming home. And if we continue our win streak, which I think we're on a 6-game win streak right now, if we continue
6 or 7?
Yeah, it's either 6 or 7. I don't remember. If we
6.
continue
6 in a row.
So if we can,
of course, they're on one too. They're on an 11-game heater.
I was gonna say, so if we continue by the time we get there, we might have that home field advantage that just gives us just that little tiny bit more extra juice. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be very interesting. And depending on how things go, I don't think it'll matter, but it's possible, depending on how things go, that could be for the division too. But we'll see. I think
it'll be for the division. Yeah.
The Lions haven't technically locked the division spot yet.
No, they have not.
They've locked playoffs, and we lock playoffs if we win this our next game.
The fun part is, if we go in against the Lions with our current record and they don't lose again, what'll happen is we'll have to look at records versus common opponents, which I don't know if their only loss is to I don't know how that works out.
I don't know how that works either. I don't know.
It's going to be really weird.
It's going to be really interesting, yeah.
Yep. All right. Week 15.
I mean, I don't know what else we'd talk about.
All right, let's start her up. Thursday night. Rams at Niners.
I thought it was funny when I first saw this on the schedule, like about a week ago. I think it was when they were advertising it, like for next Thursday night, like a week and a half ago, or whatever it was. I was like, "Oh, that game's gonna be shit." And now I'm looking at it, being like, both teams are kind of on an uprise. This might be an interesting football game. However, I'm going to slide with the Rams on this one, just because
I
if
agree.
Luka has a good game, like that's gonna like he's been on fire since he's come back.
Ravens at Giants.
I mean, it's obviously Ravens. I just if the Ravens lose to the Giants, they should be absolutely like, they won't be on my list next week. I'll put it that way.
Jets at Jaguars.
Oh God, that's a real stinky ball game there. No one wins. I don't know. Jesus Christ. Jaguars.
I'll take the Jets.
I don't feel confident in it whatsoever, though. It's probably going to be Jets, but I'm trying to hedge a little bit that maybe Jaguars do something weird.
Cowboys at Panthers.
Panthers.
I actually agree. I'll go with
Weirdly
that.
enough.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
Commanders at Saints.
Commanders.
Agreed.
Especially with their banged up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Everything.
Bengals at Titans.
Probably Bengals, but I'm very curious to see how the Titans play against that really shitty defense.
Me too. I'm looking to see if they're going to have, like, really great stats, but they're still going to lose.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious.
Chiefs at Browns.
I mean, Browns are a decent football team, but with how much Jameis turns it over, I mean, the Chiefs will just win because of that.
That's exactly what I was like. I want to say Browns, but the Chiefs' black magic will have Jameis throw an interception at the end of the game that will lose the Browns the game.
At least one. If not two or three.
Dolphins at Texans.
I'm going to lean Dolphins on this one. They're healthy now, and because of that, I'm thinking that they're going to give a run for their money for the Texans.
I actually fully agree with you. Colts at Broncos.
I'm going to go Broncos. The Colts have been underwhelming this season so far for me, and I think the Broncos have been steadily improving.
I actually do agree with you on this. Patriots at Cardinals.
Drake May's good. The Patriots are an interesting football team. I just don't think they're ready to truly compete yet, so I'm going to lean Cardinals, but it could be Patriots.
I'll take the Patriots. I'll take that action.
Fair enough.
This is probably going to be the game of the week. Bills at Lions.
That's going to be a good game. Lions, but it legitimately could be Bills.
You know what? I'm doing it.
It's a coin toss game.
I'm taking the Bills.
It's a true coin toss game, to be honest, in my opinion.
Oh, and here's why. I literally want the Lions to lose so that when we play at the end of the season, it's for all the marbles.
For all the marbles. I mean, that's fair. I get it.
Buccaneers at Chargers.
I'm concerned about the Chargers offense, but that was against the Kansas City defense. How good's the Bucks defense? How hurt are they? Yeah. I'll go Chargers.
I'll take the Bucks. Steelers at Eagles.
That'll be a good game, too.
That's going to be a great game.
Steelers.
I'll take the Eagles.
Sure.
I'll do that. Packers at Seahawks.
I want to be fair to this. The Seahawks have a pretty good defense where they could make Jordan Love look like a moron. But I have a suspicious feeling that they're not going to do enough. So I'm going to lean Green Bay, and I hate saying it, but I do legitimately think they're a better football team.
I agree, because I think Josh Jacobs is just going to run over the Seahawks. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Unless I was going to say, unless Charbonnet has another really big game, like
I don't see that.
Just
though.
don't think it'll be enough.
There's not enough evidence that that's a thing.
Yeah.
All right, and then the 2 Monday night games.
Yep. Weirdly enough, this time.
Bears at Vikings.
Obviously, Vikings.
Obviously, both of us are taking the Vikings.
They're at home. They're coming to home too. Jesus.
Yes.
They get slapped.
Falcons at Raiders.
I
don't know how that's a Monday night game.
I mean, realistically speaking, I would say that the Falcons are on paper a better football team. However, I just don't know how much I trust in that. My other issue, though, is do we know who's playing quarterback for the Raiders?
We don't. Like I said,
we know AOC went out for a bit.
The word is that AOC wants to try to play Monday night. And they have the extra day, so he would like to try to play Monday night. If it's not him, it's going to be Desmond Ridder.
Desmond Ridder? Yeah, that's my worry. That's my worry. Oof. People were, I think it was funny too. A lot of people for the Falcons were saying that they should start Penix Jr., and I don't disagree, but they're obviously sticking with Kirk for the whole year. So
yeah,
he has not been playing well. Hasn't even thrown a touchdown in 4 games. I
mean, again, technically, they're still in the hunt for the NFC South. If they were not in it, then they would probably be starting Penix.
Probably. Raiders defense isn't great. Atlanta's defense was not. I mean, as much as I want to give credit to our offense, the Raiders, if you watch several of those plays, those Falcons defense, especially that secondary, looked like fucking shit. They're both like middling football teams. But which one is slightly less middling than the other? Realistically, it should be the Falcons, but I'm going to hedge a little bit, and I'm going to say Raiders.
All right. I'll actually take the Falcons.
It probably should be the Falcons on paper, but with the way Kirk has been playing and that offense has been very predictable, and the defense now is starting to light up. I'm giving a slight edge to Raiders.
All righty. Last little bit here, and then we'll wrap up and be done for the day. The NHL Power Rankings. There are some new teams on here. One new team that you are going to be very unhappy to see.
No! Why, Boston? Why?
Because they started playing better, and they are at number 10. 15, 11, and 3 overall. They have 33 points in their last 10. They have gone 7, 3, and 0, which is why they make the list. They fired their coach. They found a new coach, and the new coach has got them playing well.
Listen, I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope they somehow still don't make playoffs.
At number 9 is a team I despise, the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, no, I don't like them much either.
17, 10, and 0, 34 points, last 10, 6, 4, and 0. Yeah, no, you make the list, but you really make the list because Carolina has just stunk so badly recently. There are other teams I'd love to put on here, but I just can't justify it yet. At number 8, the Florida Panthers, 17, 9, and 2, 36 points, last 10, 5, 4, and 1. You're winning more than you're losing, but not by much. Number 7, the Toronto Maple Leafs, 6, 9, and 2, 34 points, last 10, 7, 3, and 0. You haven't won as much since Matthews came back. Maybe there's something to this. Matthews definitely shouldn't be the problem. He's Austin frickin' Matthews. But maybe there's something to this watching Matthews play thing that I think everybody's fallen into.
Right.
Hmm?
Sorry, I was thinking. Go ahead.
Number 6, the LA Kings. 16-8-3, 35 points, last 10, 7-3-0. Look, you're still playing very well. I don't get it. I didn't think you were supposed to be this good, but Darcy Kemper has refound his form. You guys are playing well. You've got great goaltending. You're doing pretty good right now. Number 5, having fallen all the way to number 5, the Winnipeg Jets. 29-0 with 40 points. Last 10, 4, 6, and 0. You started so well and then just completely came apart at the seams. I don't know what's going on with you anymore. If you keep playing like this, you may find yourself out of the rankings. Number 4, the New Jersey Devils, 18-10-2, 38 points, last 10, 6-4-0. You guys are playing very well right now. I expect you to keep playing well. You've been really good this year. But you haven't been supreme. Number 3, the Vegas Golden Knights, 18-7-3, 39 points, last 10, 7-2-1. They're the Golden Knights, man. They're 1 year removed. They didn't win it last year, but the year before they won the frickin' cup. They're going to keep doing that. Number 2, the Washington Capitals, 19-6-2, 40 points, last 10, 7-2-1. Look, the NHL standings have you at number 1. I have you at number 2 because while you're playing miraculously great hockey, I just don't think I can justify throwing you above the number 1 team, which is the Minnesota Wild. 18-5-4, 40 points, last 10, 7-2-1. Yeah, they've been playing really good hockey. In fact, they play tonight, and I am going to be watching that game when it comes on. So that's why I wanted to record a little earlier than normal. I believe they play at 8:30 tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll see how all of this shakes again next week. But as of right now, the Wild continue to be the number 1 team in hockey right now, and they are playing very, very, very well. Outside of that, there is some small baseball news. Maybe not small per se. Juan Soto is going to the Mets for $700 million or something. Yeah, it's a ridiculous deal. There are a couple others that are done. It looks like Toronto wants to make a trade. The Yankees have grabbed Max Fried for $218. The Jays are trading for Jimenez from the Guardians. Yeah. The only bad news, there are 2 pieces of health-related news that I want to get in before we wrap up shop. First off, Randy Moss, Vikings legend, has stepped away from the NFL Countdown crew for an undisclosed medical condition. We don't know what it is, but thoughts and prayers for Randy, for everybody out there who's a Vikings fan, and all the people out there everywhere, because he was fun to watch. So, thoughts and prayers go out to him. And also, thoughts and prayers for Hall of Famer Ryan Sandberg. His cancer has returned. So, he's going to have to undergo treatment for that. Sorry to end on a little bit of a downer there. But I felt like it was important to talk about those 2 things. If you want to end on an up note, Bill Belichick has apparently expressed small amounts of interest at taking a college job at the University of North Carolina. And when asked how he would do at college coaching, he said, "What I do is run it almost like a direct pipeline to the NFL. when you come in here, you're going to be treated like they will treat you. We're going to get you all the classes you need. We're going to teach you how to be a pro. We're going to teach you how to run a pro system. All of that stuff. It's going to be literally, with my connections in the NFL, it's going to be a college to the NFL pipeline. We're going to teach you all the things you're going to need to know, and we're going to produce the best players. His former players have all said they don't think he'd be very good at it because they can't imagine him on the recruiting trail. They think that would be a big flop. So, outside of that, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else, Chris?
Nope.
Alrighty, well then we'll wrap it up here for you guys. We want to say thank you for sticking with us and watching everything we do. If you like what we do, give us a subscribe. It's over there. Click the bell icon so you can be notified whenever we upload. Give us a little like. That thumbs up button helps us know that you like the content that we make, and we should make more of this kind of stuff. We're going to keep making it regardless, but it does let us know that people care. In the meantime, we're going to tell you all, we'll be back here again next week. We hope that you have the greatest of weeks. We know that you can accomplish whatever you put your mind to. We're going to say that everybody should stay bearded. Peace out.